Ever wondered what happens in an Amish kitchen the morning after a wedding? While most modern couples might wake up to delivery apps and restaurant leftovers, Amish newlyweds begin their marriage in the kitchen, preparing foods that have nourished their communities for centuries. These aren't just meals. They're the first tangible expressions of their partnership, teaching lessons that will sustain their marriage for decades. 1. Fresh-baked sourdough bread. The day begins with fresh-baked sourdough bread. Long before the sun rises, the new bride starts her first married morning with flour on her hands. Unlike our modern quick-rise breads, Amish sourdough requires patience, a starter that's been nurtured for weeks, sometimes passed down from her mother or grandmother. The couple kneads the dough together, their movements becoming synchronized as they work the elastic mass until it's smooth and ready to rise. This isn't just breakfast preparation, it's the foundation of their household, a symbol that they'll provide for each other from this day forward. 2. Homemade breakfast casserole. While the bread rises, they turn to the homemade breakfast casserole. This hearty dish combines eggs from their family farm, potatoes they've stored from last season's harvest, and fresh herbs from their garden. The new husband often browns sausage made during the previous fall's butchering, while his wife whisks eggs in a bowl that might have been a wedding gift. They layer everything in a deep ceramic dish, hands occasionally brushing against each other in these early hours of married life. This casserole will fuel their first full day of work together, a practical meal that represents their new shared responsibility. 3. Cinnamon rolls. Next comes cinnamon rolls, adding sweetness to their morning ritual. Unlike the over-frosted commercial versions, Amish cinnamon rolls focus on the perfect balance of spice and subtle sweetness. The dough is rolled thin, spread with butter they've churned themselves, and sprinkled with cinnamon and just enough sugar to create a gentle sweetness. As they roll the dough together, the spiral forms a physical representation of how their lives are now intertwined. These rolls aren't just dessert. They're a reminder that marriage should bring sweetness to everyday moments. 4. Meadow Tea. Mid-morning calls for Meadow Tea, a refreshing drink that pauses their busy schedule. The couple walks together to gather mint leaves growing wild on their property, the first of many harvests they'll share. They crush the leaves gently, releasing aromatic oils before steeping them in water heated on their wood-burning stove. No fancy tea bags or electric kettles here. Just a simple pot and knowledge passed through generations. The resulting amber liquid is served without sugar, letting the natural mint flavor shine through. They sit across from each other at their new table, hands wrapped around warm mugs, sharing quiet conversation as they plan their day together. 5. Apple dumplings. As the afternoon approaches, the newlyweds begin preparing apple dumplings, their first dessert project together. This isn't a quick process like opening a package of cookies. Each apple is carefully peeled, the husband holding the fruit while the wife creates one continuous spiral of skin. The cored apples are filled with a mixture of cinnamon, butter, and a modest amount of brown sugar before being wrapped in pastry dough that's been rolled to perfect thinness. The technique requires 4 hands working in harmony, one holding the apple steady while another wraps the dough, then crimping and sealing each dumpling. As they place them in the oven, the kitchen fills with the aroma of baking apples and warm spices. This dessert teaches patience. The dumplings must cool slightly before eating, a lesson in delayed gratification that applies to many aspects of their new marriage. When finally served warm with a small pitcher of cream, these dumplings represent the fruits of their first collaborative effort. 6. Homemade noodles and beef. For their midday meal, the couple prepares homemade noodles and beef. This dish demonstrates the Amish value of resourcefulness, using simple ingredients to create something substantial. The wife mixes flour, farm-fresh eggs, and a pinch of salt, kneading until the dough reaches the perfect elasticity. Together, they roll it paper thin using a wooden rolling pin that might have belonged to his grandmother. The husband carefully cuts the dough into long, even strips while she tends to beef that's been slowly simmering, often from animals raised by their own community. The meat is cooked with onions and celery until tender, creating a rich broth. The fresh noodles are added just minutes before serving, absorbing the flavors while maintaining their distinct texture. Unlike store-bought pasta, these noodles have substance. They're slightly uneven, thicker in places, with an unmistakable homemade quality that no factory can replicate. The couple serves this hearty dish in bowls that are filled only halfway, the Amish practice of moderation evident even in their serving sizes. This meal sustains them through afternoon chores without waste or excess. 7. Traditional chicken pot pie. As evening approaches, they begin work on traditional chicken pot pie. Not the kind with a top crust that most Americans know, but the authentic Pennsylvania Dutch version that's more like a thick stew filled with hearty square noodles. The chicken comes from their family's flock, processed and preserved through techniques that maximize every part of the bird. The husband cuts vegetables, carrots, celery, onions in uniform pieces while his wife works on the pot pie noodles, a dough similar to pasta but rolled thicker and cut into squares. They move around each other in the kitchen with increasing familiarity, developing the choreography that will define their household for decades to come. The vegetables are added to the pot in order of cooking time, a precise sequence that ensures nothing is overcooked or undercooked. The broth is seasoned simply with salt, pepper, and fresh herbs from their garden. No bouillon cubes or flavor enhancers, just natural ingredients combined with knowledge of how flavors develop during slow cooking. This dish requires nearly 2 hours of intermittent attention, teaching the couple to coordinate their other household tasks around their cooking, a skill essential for running an efficient Amish home where multiple activities must happen simultaneously. When finished, the pot pie embodies comfort and nourishment, a dish that will likely become a regular part of their family meals for generations. 8. Strawberry jam. While the pot pie simmers, they begin making strawberry jam, literally preserving the sweetness of their first day together. If they married in late spring or summer, fresh strawberries would be available from their garden or a neighbor's farm. The fruit is washed carefully, then hulled by hand, a tedious process made easier by working together, their hands stained red as they share stories and dreams. The berries are crushed with wooden spoons rather than electric blenders, allowing them to control the texture precisely. They add just enough sugar to preserve the fruit, significantly less than commercial jams that mask natural flavors with excessive sweetness. A squeeze of lemon juice, grown nowhere near Amish country but traded for or purchased on rare trips to town, adds necessary acidity. The mixture bubbles in a large pot, filling the kitchen with sweet fragrance as they take turns stirring with a wooden spoon to prevent scorching. The husband tests the consistency by placing small amounts on cold plates to see if it sets properly, a technique passed down through generations of Amish kitchens. When ready, the hot jam is carefully poured into glass jars that have been sterilized in boiling water. Each lid is secured with practiced movements before the jars are processed in a water bath to ensure proper sealing. These jars will line their cellar shelves, carrying summer's sweetness into winter months and serving as a tangible reminder of these first precious days together. The couple marks each jar with the date, the first entry in what will become years of preserving records they'll keep together. 9. Amish Wedding Pretzel Spread. As evening continues, they prepare the Amish Wedding Pretzel Spread, a symbolic connection to their recent wedding celebration. Unlike the small, hard pretzels most Americans know, Amish wedding pretzels are soft, large, and shaped by hand to represent arms folded in prayer and hearts intertwined in love. The dough requires perfect balance. Enough water to remain pliable, but not so much that it loses shape. The husband measures flour precisely, while his wife adds warm water, butter, salt, and just a touch of sugar. They take turns kneading, commenting on how the dough's resistance changes under their hands. Shaping these pretzels is an art form that few outside their community fully appreciate. The rope of dough must be rolled to uniform thickness before being twisted into the traditional shape, a process requiring coordination as one holds while the other twists. They work side by side at their kitchen table, creating slightly different patterns that nevertheless maintain the essential pretzel form. Before baking, the pretzels are briefly boiled in water with baking soda, creating the distinctive chewy exterior that contrasts with the soft interior. This extra step, seemingly unnecessary to outsiders, demonstrates the Amish commitment to doing things properly rather than quickly. The pretzels are brushed with beaten egg for shine before being sprinkled with coarse salt and baked until golden brown. Accompanying these pretzels are several spreads. Sweet apple butter they've made from last fall's harvest, tangy mustard with visible seeds prepared weeks in advance, and a cheese spread made from local dairy. This assembly of flavors represents the community's contributions to their union, diverse elements coming together in harmony, just as the many families in their community have united to support this new marriage. 10. Shoofly pie. The day concludes with shoofly pie, perhaps the most iconic of all Amish desserts, and a fitting end to their first day as husband and wife. This molasses-based pie tells the story of Amish practicality and ingenuity. Created generations ago when fresh fruit was unavailable during winter months, it transforms shelf-stable pantry ingredients into something extraordinary. The husband prepares the pie crust, working cold butter into flour with his fingertips until the mixture resembles coarse crumbs. His wife adds just enough ice water to bring the dough together, not a drop more or less. They've both watched their parents make this crust hundreds of times, but now they develop their own rhythm, their own way of creating this foundation. Meanwhile, the filling combines unsulfured molasses, its robust flavor a stark contrast to the processed syrups found in modern pantries, with warm water, baking soda for leavening, and a carefully measured amount of brown sugar. No chocolate, no exotic spices, nothing that couldn't be stored in a cellar or pantry through a harsh Pennsylvania winter. The crumb topping consists of flour, brown sugar, and butter work together until it forms pea-sized clusters. As they assemble the pie, they create distinct layers: wet bottom, cakey middle, and crumbly top, each with its own texture and intensity of flavor. The proportions must be precise for the chemistry of the baking process to work correctly. While the pie bakes, filling their home with the deep aroma of molasses and caramelizing sugar, they clean their kitchen together, washing dishes by hand in water heated on their stove, wiping down counters, and preparing for tomorrow's work. This final dessert, enjoyed by candlelight as their first day of marriage comes to a close, embodies what makes Amish cooking unique: simplicity, transformed into something profound through care, tradition, and the understanding that food nourishes not just the body but the connections between people. In just one day, these newlyweds have created 10 different foods, some that will be consumed immediately, others that will sustain them in the coming weeks and months. Their kitchen holds no electric mixers, no air fryers, no Instapots, just well-worn tools that have stood the test of time, just like the marriage they're building together. What's most surprising is that studies show Amish people live 10 years longer than the average American, despite having no health insurance or modern medical interventions. Could their approach to food be part of the secret? While we're spending billions on supplements and diet plans, these communities have maintained robust health through simple, unprocessed foods prepared with intention. A recent study tracked 4,000 Amish individuals and found rates of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer significantly lower than the national average. Researchers noted that the average Amish person walks 14,000 to 18,000 steps daily and consumes nearly 96% of their diet from scratch-made foods. This isn't just about nutrition, it's about connection. When an Amish couple prepares these foods together, they're not just cooking, they're participating in a ritual that has sustained their community for centuries. They're learning to work as one unit, to communicate without words, to understand that some things cannot be rushed. The slow fermentation of sourdough, the patient stirring of jam, the careful folding of pastry, these become metaphors for marriage itself. In our world of convenience and shortcuts, there's something powerful in this deliberate approach to food and partnership, where every dish teaches something essential about commitment, patience, and faith. Perhaps that's why the divorce rate among the Amish remains below 1%, while the rest of America hovers above 40%. There's wisdom in their kitchens that extends far beyond recipes, wisdom we might all benefit from rediscovering.